Oluyemi is deeply interested in food sustainability and he enjoys participating in sensory evaluation and learning from food and beverage development experts. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mr. Oluyemi Oloyede as he delivers his lecture. He's the keynote speaker. I think we can do better than that, please.
Thank you very much. I'm sure when she said he graduated with first-class degree in, you wanted it to be food science and technology. No, I studied mathematics. But I have a lot of friends, a lot of colleagues, a lot of family members who studied food science and technology. And one of them is here. His name is Mr. George Olua. I know you know it. Thank you very much. So good afternoon, everyone. It's still morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for giving me this moment. It's a very big opportunity for me to be here. As you heard rightly, my name is Oluyemi Oloyede, and I'm here representing, you know how it is. If you go to Onitsha, I'm here representing myself, my wife, my family, and very importantly, I'm representing UAC Foods Limited. I'm going to be talking very briefly, and I'll try to be as brief as possible because I was very impressed at the level of knowledge that these secondary school students shared with us today. And even more importantly, I was very impressed when that boy started crying. It gets to a point where people become used to sub-performance. Of course, they felt they performed very well. So when they didn't hear their name as third position, they didn't hear their name as second position, they were very confident that they were going to be first. So I was very happy when I saw them crying. It's a very, very good sign of two people that will be successful in life. They never wanted to be anything else. So they never, I'm sure they can't understand how they didn't make it to the top. So thank you very much. I want to sincerely appreciate the leadership of the Lagos chapter. I know how, when I told Dr. Bola Oshinowo that we're very close to the chapter, he's asking why are we not a corporate member? I am sure that once we finish this conference this year, we're going to reactivate our corporate membership. And everyone in the company that is in the area of food, so all our people in quality, all our people in production, all our people in HSC, across all our 3 factories will join this institute. So I'm very, very impressed. I'm very impressed. I want to especially appreciate all the executive members. Thank you very much. To tell you how big this occasion is and how special this group is, today is also our annual general meeting. So today is the day we are presenting to our investors our results for last year. But I had to take an excuse from the investors that some special people in a special chapter of a special institute have asked me to come here to talk to them, and I can't say no. Today is also the day I am supposed to become a fellow of the Marketing Institute in Nigeria. But I've also taken excuse. I've told the president and the governing council that they should please excuse me that I will not be able to make it. So you're very special. You're very special. All right, I'll be talking very briefly on attaining sufficient, safe, and healthy foods for Nigerians through food science and technology. It's very easy. In fact, if you ask me whether this is the right topic or not, I'd say this is the only topic we should talk about every year. And the reason is because the topic of food sufficiency is a national security topic. Majority of the time, when you look at the people at the lower end of the pyramid, the reason people commit crime mostly is for food. Those of us that run factories, we have 1,320 people in those factories. The biggest crime, the biggest thing that we sack people for is for something as small as stealing something worth 1,000 naira. And most of the time, they don't steal mobile phones. Most of the time, they don't steal bags. They don't steal wristwatches. Most of the time, what they steal is food. We need to establish the food sufficiency topic as a national security issue, and as a people, as a nation, we must take these and ancillary topics that address food safety and health as issues that we must address as a nation, and this is what determines whether or not this country will survive. It is not politics that will determine whether or not we survive. It is access to sufficient, affordable, healthy food. Different global statistical studies put food spend, groceries, and non-alcoholic beverages in Nigeria at 59% of consumer spend. So it means if I earn 100,000 naira, I spend on the average 59,000. By the time you add accommodation, if you live in Lagos, you know what accommodation means. By the time you add transportation, and for those of us, unlike my parents who sent me to public school, so I'm very, very proud. So when I heard someone is from Ijaniki or Ojokoro, I was very, very proud, because I'm a very proud product of public education. I've never gone to a private school in my life. So when a consumer or a household spends 59% of their income on food and still are not able to get sufficient food, healthy food, safe food, you know exactly what that means. The pressure on the Nigerian household and the Nigerian consumer spending this much on food is significant, as their counterparts in other countries spend much less. When this study was conducted in 2023, Nigerians spend the most amount of money on food. We have countries that people spend as little as 6.7% of their income on food. We have people that spend as little as 7%, as little as 9%, as little as 10%. But because of how expensive food is in Nigeria, people spend this kind of amount. And you can almost immediately tell the kind of life they are going to live when they spend almost everything they make on food. Last month, the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics released their numbers, and they said food inflation is now over 40%. That means last year, this study was saying we were already spending 59% on food. But against last year, the price of food has gone up by 40%. So you should expect that the consumer and the Nigerian household definitely spends much more than that 59% now on food. Little wonder that Nigerian households grapple to keep up with the ever-rising cost of living and consistently declining quality of life. No wonder that our life expectancy is as low as it is today. By the time you add 59% spend on food to the cost of transportation and private education, then you know, when you add that together with your accommodation, you know exactly how that goes. I find an interesting correlation between government spend on food and food assistance programs and how much each household spends on food. The US spends the least amount, the US household spends the least amount on food. They spend about 6% on food. But the US as a country spends the most amount on food assistance programs. That implies that the balance of the 6% is not in the air. Someone else is paying for it, and it is the government. When we talk food sustainability, food sufficiency, food security, we're talking a very important topic, and the government at all levels, government agencies, private organizations like UAC Foods must come to the table to be part of this conversation. Each citizen must have access to safe, quality, sufficient foods at the best possible price. I am sure some of us were part of the conversations recently where they were selling baskets of tomato for 150,000. The problem with food sufficiency and price of food is that it is either I eat or I eat. There is no alternative. If you give me a shirt to wear and the shirt is too expensive, I can go and sew my babariga. If you give me suit and the suit is too expensive, I can go and sew Ankara. But there is nothing to substitute food with. So if food becomes too expensive, the only other alternative is food. That means a lot of the things that we call insecurity in Nigeria, a lot of the things that we call crime in Nigeria, it is because the Nigerian man, the Nigerian woman, the Nigerian household is trying to put food on their table. And that is why government at all levels, and here I am talking about the federal, the national, the subnational government, the local government, and even private organizations need to be interested because there's a significant amount of pressure on the average man on the street. If you earn 100,000 and you're already spending 59,000 of it, but even the 59,000, what they are telling you is you cannot buy real food. You cannot buy quality food. You cannot buy safe food. Then you understand exactly what the pressure I am talking about is like. Food security is simply the state of having reliable and affordable access to food. There is food availability because it's very important that we understand those two things separately. It's easy for you to say, oh, but there is always tomato in mile 2. There is always flour in the market. But is it available? Yes. Is it accessible? No. Is it affordable? No. Is it accessible? No. So economically, it's like a goat that is chained. And then that goat is trying, you are showing the goat all the good food in the world. The goat can see, that is availability. But the question is the goat cannot touch. The Nigerian household can see that you are producing. Recently, we met with flour manufacturers in Nigeria, and I was able to connect food inflation to the price of wheat flour alone. Alone. And I showed them as exchange rate was going up, this was how your prices were going up. But now that exchange rate was coming down, your price never came down. Between April 2023 and December 2023, the price of one bag of flour went from 19,000 to 63,000 in 1 year. But now that dollar came down, they only reduced the price once by 500 naira. And now they have increased it again. So the problem is we do not see the correlation between every other thing that happens in the economy and the price of food. Many states in Nigeria, the governors just make sure that they are paying salaries and there's food. The governor will win second term. He has not done any other thing. It is because the majority of the Nigerian households are not asking you to buy them Ferraris. They are not asking you to buy them Lamborghinis. They are not asking you to build them skyscrapers. They are only asking that you make food available, accessible, and affordable. And I am talking to myself because I'm also the CEO of a food company, and I take decisions about food prices. I take decisions about profitability of the company. The Nigerian household has lived in survival mode for many years. And the problem with survival mode is that you can only live so far. Once you hit the wall, then you will have to look back. And survival is doing the barest minimum so that the human being stays alive. It is doing whatever is possible to stay alive, to not die. And this comes at a huge sacrifice to sufficiency, quality, and safety. Families most times must skip meals to cope with the rising food inflationary pressures. Some must eat bad, unsafe food to keep hopes alive. However, the human mind is not eternally elastic when it comes to hope. So instead of survival, we need to brainstorm on tactics and strategies that will guarantee sufficient, safe, healthy, and nutritious food in the society. I want to give one example. When on May 29, they even said removing subsidy was not part of the, it's very important. And that is where, I won't talk about that now. That's what I want to end the conversation with. A lot of us think we are professionals. So there are things we do, there are things we don't do. There are many things that you don't do today that is affecting the things that you do. The people who make the most decisions about our lives are not in this room. But if I check, PhD, professor. But the person the chairman of this local government can give one phone call and say all of us here should stand up and start jumping, should stand up and leave the room, should stand up. And that person is someone very important in our lives. When we removed subsidy, we poured the money, we removed subsidy, and at the same time, we removed the float on currency. That means the government started making a lot more money. The government started, in fact, they were sharing 500 billion, 600 billion before. Now they started sharing 1.2 trillion. Why didn't we pour that extra into food? Because the only thing, when you say you are subsidizing fuel, some people don't use fuel. Some people don't go out as often as you think everybody goes out. But there is nobody that does not eat. So if you put that money into food production, we will not be where we are today. They are saying they are fighting inflation by increasing rates. It is not by increasing rate. What you only do by increasing rates is that you will stop those of us who are in manufacturing to stop taking money from the market. Because when they tell me that my interest rate is now 32%, what do I want to do with 32%? Because I'm going to put that 32% back into the price of the product and sell it into the same market. The same market where the person that was enjoying fuel subsidy is no longer enjoying it. The person that was enjoying dollar at a better rate is no longer enjoying it. So once I collect that cash from the bank, I am putting more pressure on that person. Why don't we do what we believe every one of us will benefit from? If they subsidize petrol, not all of us benefit from petrol. If they subsidize diesel, not all of us benefit from diesel. But if they subsidize food, every single person alive, the only thing that keeps us alive will be the breath, air, and we don't pay for breath or air, but we all pay for food. So we need to take this as very important. I'm saying this because some of us in this room will have opportunities to be able to interact with leaders in industry and especially political leaders. Challenges breed opportunities, and opportunities breed champions. We must view the current national and subnational challenges as opportunities to develop plans to guarantee food security at all levels, and this is my responsibility. This is your responsibility. This is the responsibility of every Nigerian, every government agency, every donor agency, every association, as it is to live, as this is a life or death situation. The neighbor who consistently does not get sufficient food to feed his family will likely damn any potential consequences and look for food at all costs. So sometimes when you see you bought 3 tubers of yam, but one is missing, somebody is cooking that tuber of yam. It is not because the person is a thief. It is because this is now a matter of survival. For those of us who are fathers, imagine that you wake up in the morning on the 1st. Your wife and 3 children. Your wife calls you, and you know our mothers, special mothers, they know how to tell you without telling you that we need to eat. And you check your pocket, it's only 1,500. There is almost nothing 1,500 buy. In those days, we used to buy 1 tuber of yam, 200 naira, 300 now. Now they are selling 1 tuber of yam, 5,000. 5,000. A tuber of yam cannot feed more than 3 people. 2. 2. And so that means that tuber of yam, without salt, we have not bought gas, we have not bought pepper, there is no seasoning, there is nothing. Let's say I just want to eat it. 1 tuber, 5,000. Let's assume that I am so poor that it's only that tuber of yam I will eat every day. And it is now 5 times 30, 150,000. But Oga is working in a company where they are paying him 90,000. They are paying him 80,000. They are paying him 70,000. Because minimum wage is still 30,000. I don't know how some of us as employers still wake up. You wake up and then you go to work and you see human beings that are working for 30,000 naira, and there is nothing charging you to understand that it is not possible for anyone to live on 30,000 naira. It is not possible. There is no way a human being can live on 30,000 naira in today's Nigeria, in yesterday's Nigeria, in last year's Nigeria, even in the Nigerias that we had in the past. It is not possible. So we need on our own to begin to realize the importance of having food on the table or for our households. The consumer wants protein. I'll give you this one as an example again. Because majority of us here are in the manufacturing space or in the academia, or you are a consultant, you are in packaging. But most of us have passed through the same thing that is happening now at some point. Maybe not up to this level. A lot of us as food manufacturing companies are so obsessed about ourselves that we do not even think of the people that are going to buy the products that we produce. The easiest way to give a child, UNICEF released a report. They said 32% of children in Nigeria are malnourished. They released this report before May 29, 2023. So between May 29, 2023 and now, you know what has happened. So that number is not 32%. Maybe it is 37. Thank you very much, sir. 37%. children that did not beg you to bring them to the world, though. At below age 5, they are already malnourished. But that was at a time when they were taking milk that contained 30% protein, milk that contained 28% protein, milk that contained 27% protein. But now, almost everywhere I go to in Nigeria, I am seeing a new set of products that goes into the market. And they say, creamer. And you know, it is when you have eaten and your eyes are clear that you can read packaging material. They say, you look at it, it looks like this one is also lebu, and it is like whitish, creamish color. And this other one, and they say this one is 600 naira. And this one is 100 naira. Your natural instinct as somebody that your pocket is hot, like jollof rice pot, you would want to consider it. But when you check most of these creamers that our people are eating, these creamers contain 1% protein, 1.5% protein, 2% protein. When we were taking milk at 28%, we have 37% of our children as malnourished. Now, you can imagine the future that we are creating. Definitely, these children will be even further malnourished. Because where do you want to get protein for? Fish. How much are they selling fish now? Over the bar. Meat. How much are they selling meat? Over the bar. Egg. You have to bring out the egg yourself before you can eat it. So milk used to be one of the cheapest sources of proteins. But right now, that milk has been substituted with creamers. And I hope that we understand exactly what we are doing. We are creating a future of malnourished people. I want to talk about 10 things and then I will close very quickly. The first thing that I want to say is hope is not a strategy. There is hope, 93, and there is renewed hope, 2023. But it is not a strategy. You cannot plan with hope. You can't stay here and say, I have 63 acres of land in my village, and it is full of bush, and I am here in Lagos. I am hoping that someone has cleared the land. I am hoping that someone has gone to cultivate it and planted cassava. Is that how it happens? No. I have to take steps. As a country, we can't rely on words, especially words that we have trusted in the past. The same people that are telling us about hope now, they have told us about hope in the past. They have told us something else in the past. Did they fulfill those promises? No. And because they did not fulfill those promises, you need to plan on your own. So very quickly, I run through those 10 things that I think we need to do. The first one is we need to open the market. You cannot close the doors of your country when you are not food sufficient. Maybe the only thing that we are sufficient on in Nigeria is oxygen. People import gari from Benin Republic. You are not food sufficient. You cannot close your doors. You need an open market system. You need the market to be open. So this one, that one president will come and say he has closed border. Those are the beginning of problem. If someone else is able to do it cheaper, if someone is able to do gari cheaper from Benin Republic, open the border, let people buy gari cheaper. If someone from Thailand is able to produce rice cheaper, please open the border and let people have access to food, as long as it is safe and healthy food. Thank you very much. The second thing is we need to prioritize what to produce and what to scale. It is not every crop that grows very well in Nigeria. I see a lot of people investing in wheat production. Wheat does not go very well in Nigeria. But you and I know a lot of crops that go very well in Nigeria. Cassava is one of them. Maize is one of them. Cocoa is one of them. Groundnut is one of them. Cocoyam is one of them. Please let us prioritize what grows well in Nigeria so that we can make very good use of our land. We need to prioritize what grows the best in Nigeria. The third thing is we need precision modern agriculture. I really like the fact that a lot of the secondary school students talked about this. This is 2024. We can no longer grow food with hoe and cutlass on 2 plots of land. It is not possible. It is no longer sufficient. We need to grow. There's a lot of technology. We have countries that they don't even have as much land as Nigeria has, and they are exporting billions of dollars of worth of food every year. So we need to do things the way people do them in 2024. The fourth thing is we need to develop a national climate smart food production calendar. There is no other country in the world that wants to be self-sufficient on food, that is only growing food when it is rainy season. In Nigeria, everybody goes to sleep during the dry season. Then when it is January, December, February, everybody goes back to start cultivating land. Those periods that you were not cultivating land, what do you expect to eat? How do you expect that food to come? It has to come at a much higher price because we're not. If you notice, when maize becomes popular in the southwest, the price of garri will go down. Why? Majority of people are moving to things they can do with maize. They boil it and eat. They roast it and eat. They eat it with beans. They use it for different things. But when food is not available all year round, then it becomes almost impossible for food to be cheap. We waste at least 40% of food in Nigeria. If you go to Plateau State, if you go to Benue, if you go to Kaduna, you will see them selling most of these things that we buy 100,000, 50,000. You will see them selling it for 8,000, 10,000, 20,000. But the problem is transporting it from where it's produced to where we need it at a very large quantity. So we need to invest as a country, as a group, as a cooperative, as a state, as a local government. We need to invest heavily in food preservation. The next thing is we need to process our food. A lot of us know how we used to harvest cassava and then we just eat it. We would harvest yam, we just eat it. But there are other things that you can convert this cassava to. There are other things that you can convert this yam to so that it is more available throughout the year. The seventh thing is perhaps the beginning of everything food sustainability. Soil science and conservation. Genetics engineering. In 2014, you get to a time when you think you know a little about farming, so you go back to the farm. The first thing, when I started taking soil samples on my land that I wanted to plant maize, people thought, what is this? What do you want to use the soil sample? They thought maybe there's a prayer that I wanted to go and do. I took the soil samples, I took them to Federal University of Agriculture in Abeokuta for them to tell me the type of soil and what type of crop that type of soil can support. It is not every soil that will support cassava. It is not every soil that will support maize. We need to be able to do these things on our own. The next one, which is the eighth, is we need to boost nutrition in children and young adults. A 57, 67, 77, 87-year-old person can feed on the basic things of life because you don't really need a lot of food at that age. But we continue to say Nigeria. Can we still hear? Very good. So when we say Nigeria is a young country, A young country cannot be thinking as an old man. A young country must be thinking as a young country. So we need to boost nutrition in children. There's one ingredient that I got in the market recently, and the person derived it by drying larvae. You know maggots? Maggots. The person dried maggots and turned it to powder. By the time I checked, 28% protein. You know me now? Immediately, I quickly pour some inside beans. We need to start thinking on our own. Because when someone is giving your children 1% protein in school, you need to look for what to give them. The next one, which is the second to the last, is rest but never settle. The highest concentration of food scientists are in this room. We need to continue to research. We need to continue to check and see other ways that we can improve the lives of our people. The final one is sustainable technology-backed agric extension programs. A lot of young people go to the farm to go and plant, but they don't know what seed to plant. They don't know what the distance between two ridges should be like. They don't know how high the hip should be if they want to plant yam. They don't know all these things. It is agric extension workers that can support them. It's not agric extension workers that collected caterpillar or planter or ridger or harvester from the government, and then he's now giving it to people at a rate that even he cannot afford. Whereas this thing is supposed to be free. And the final point, which is the point I wanted to talk about earlier, vote and present yourselves to be voted for. The entire thing that we have been discussing today is only possible when we have the right kind of leaders. Everything starts and ends with leadership. These things are policy things, they are policy discussions. So when you have the opportunity to be in a group like this, vote and present yourself to be voted for. On your street, when they are appointing LCDA chairman, LCDA member, secretary, vote and present yourselves to be voted for. When you have an opportunity to join, I am a member of a political party, active member, card-carrying member of a political party. Why? I don't want people who did not finish primary school to be deciding the future of my children after my PhD. That's the reason. So present yourself the same way you present yourself to this institute and you serve with all diligence. In politics, it is not different. The only reason it is different today is because people like us in this room, you saw people. Who is this one? Ife. See, doctor. Doctor finished from Ife. Maybe before I even stopped taking breast milk. But if you ask doctor now, doctor, come and become our local government chairman. You say, Yemi. Present yourself to vote and to be voted for. Thank you very much. Thank you.